Welcome along to Sydney Motorsport Park for our continued Round 2 coverage of the Swann Super Series. I'm Lance Robertson, and along with Tim Graham, we'll be bringing you all the action from our support categories. Starting our coverage today is the Shock Treatment 400 Super Sport class, where Max Croker dominated proceedings on his KTM in Round 1. He's part of the new breed coming through to make their mark on the sport, and part of the new breed includes two next-generation riders who have a rich heritage behind them, Shani Pinfold and Keogh Watson.
We've had a few issues this weekend. Unfortunately, I crashed out in the second practice on Friday and we struggled to get parts in time, so I had to sit out of practice and really could have used that as it's my first time here. But we managed to get the bike back together, and in the qualifying I still had a bent rear set, so I got stuck in fourth gear. I managed to qualify in 12th place, so that was good. And then second race, unfortunately, I had my gear lever fall off, so that sent me to the rear of the grid for the third race. But I'm very happy with the times and improving every race, so I'm very happy. I grew up with just my father, and he was a professional speedway racer, so I grew up at a racetrack most of the time. And being a single parent, we thought couldn't really afford to race ourselves like as children, and I got the opportunity in late 2014 to get on a dirt bike and have a go at dirt track, and I just fell in love and did as much as I could. And I was approached by Derek Williams and Lumelite Racing the start of 2015, which kicked off my road racing career, so I've been very lucky so far.
It was quite rushed actually. We only got the bike a few weeks ago, so sort of just been trying to get it as ready as we can, which we've had a bit of trouble with it yesterday, and working late on it last night. Just basic prep, just getting everything spinning free, like the wheels, and just going over the whole bike pretty much, as well as race glass, and just running the right sort of stuff in it in terms of oil. So I'm hoping to run top 5. With the issues we've had sort of the last 2 days, we'll see, but hopefully top 5.
Well, it's great to see both Shani and Keogh taking part in the Shock Treatment 400 Supersport class for this year, but the question that everyone is asking themselves is, can they beat Max Croker aboard his KTM RC390? We're about to find out with race 1 coming your way. Let's have a look at the grid right now. Hunter Ford is your pole man, with Max Croker and Jim Condon on the front row. Yanni Shaw, Keogh Watson and Tom Tapara share the second row. Selen, Edzer and Thomas on row 3. Row 4 is Young, Thompson and Shani Pinfold, the first of the female riders. Row 5 is shared by Penman, Smith and Burt, with the last row that we can show you, Chapman, Draper and Julie Clinker, another of the leading ladies on board these pint-sized pocket rockets. Revs build up in preparation for the first of 6 laps in the Shock Treatment 400 Super Sport class for 2017, round 2. So we're underway there, probably getting the best of the start off the second row of the grid. May well have been Yanni Shaw, but he's not got enough mumbo-jumbo to get up the inside on that BC Performance Kawasaki Ninja 300, and he's settling back there in about 3rd or 4th placing. 4th placing by the looks of it. It seems to be Max Croker, I think, on the KTM that is leading at the moment through bikebiz.com.au for the first of 6 laps.
Yeah, great start there by Max Croker on his machine. We have Tom Tapara, but look at Hunter Ford, pole position down the 7th spot in the first turn there, Lance. Shocking start by the Ford racing team there, but we'll know Hunter is coming back up the inside now. I think that was off Dan Thomas coming over the bikehaggle.com drop-off. It looks like he's got the better of Dan Thomas there. Yes, he has.
It looks like the Sunset Self-Storage C&M Motorcycles number 43, Keogh Watson, doing what he did well yesterday, up into 3rd placing. He needs to learn to close a couple of those gaps, though, in certain key areas of the circuit if he's going to get any further forward.
Oh, that's one of the KTMs out front. Is that
our race leader? I think you'll find it was, wasn't it? Is that Max Croker?
I'm not quite sure who that is. I can't see. No, there's Max there.
Max, it's Tom
Taparis. Like Tom Taparis, yeah, on his KTM has had a mechanical issue there, which has moved Keogh Watson into our 2nd spot now.
Keogh, the man with all of the pressure behind him. Look at that, a quartet of riders want that second placing at the moment, but he's doing a good job on board his KTM. Threading the needle through Matrice Dampers turns 11 and 12, just behind Hunter Ford, or just ahead of Hunter Ford behind him is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so Hunter's made a couple of moves there because now he's sitting in third spot, so he's had a pretty couple of interesting laps. We have Ryan Sellen there as well.
Yanni Shaw behind him.
Danny Thomas is there as well on his brand new leathers. He's got from Oz Motorcycle Leathers, one of his sponsors, so he's trying to get them back onto the TV. But look at Ryan Sellen there, the three abreast.
Yanni Shaw snaps up the inside. Can he outbreak them down into bikebiz.com.au? He can. On the outside, it's Hunter Ford. On the inside, Yanni Shaw.
Ryan Sellen there as well, but at the moment, these three are giving the two out front a bit of a break there. Max Crocker and Keogh Watson on their KTM RCA 390s.
You can just imagine his father, Ken, in the pits down the end of pit lane there, just saying to him, come on, keep it down, head down, bum up, concentrate, otherwise you'll do exactly what you've done just there and open the door up and allow Hunter Ford through. Let's have another look at this on replay as they come through Races World. You can see that Yanni Shaw got the inside run. Ryan Sellen was the meat in the sandwich, but the man that initially outbroke them was Yanni Shaw on the 333. But there you can see Hunter Ford had the best line, the best drive out of bikebiz.com.au. Looking back now from Hunter Ford's bike through Races World, turn number 1, you can see how Yanni Shaw momentarily backed off the throttle, then opened it up nice and wide to get that run down the inside of Ryan Sellen, but did not have the line through bikebiz.com.
We've seen the KTMs were dominating yesterday, and Yanni Shaw was throwing that little Kawasaki in as well. Different places they're better because the KTM RC390 Lance is a single cylinder. The Kawasaki Ninja 300 is a twin cylinder, so a little bit better at different parts of the circuit, but it all adds up pretty much the same when they get to the start and finish line.
It's all about maintaining the speed through the corners, especially in these. I mean, what you used to do, Dan Thomas, for example, on his old FZ6, he used to ride it like a praying mantis, as you can see there. Keogh Watson coming up the inside of Hunter Ford, and look at the difference it makes there if you get a successful slipstream down the main straight. As I was alluding to there with Dan Thomas, used to have to ride it with arms out, legs out, all sorts of things, and he used to drive as hard as he could into the corner, brake as late as he could. Now it's the reverse of that. You've got to tuck in behind the screen, you've got to maintain that power, brake early and power on early to get corner speed, as opposed to the way he used to ride his FZ6.
Yeah, Max Crocker out front, a 48.56, fastest lap of the race. But look at this battle now. Looks like Hunter Ford, Yanni Shaw coming through. Dunlop Sports makes turn 4, got the better of Keogh Watson. So Keogh's now been relegated to 4th position on the road. Very close dicing between this 2nd, 3rd and 4th place.
Everybody's gone wide there. What was that?
Gee, that's everyone's using a different part of the circuit there we haven't seen before, but that looked like Yanni Shaw might have dragged them all through that turn then.
Well, I think Hunter Ford went a little bit wide, then Yanni Shaw went wider, and Keogh just had no option but to follow him.
Yeah, but you see, Yanni Shaw just had a big look down the left-hand side of his machine, maybe a gear lever issue or something, but won't speculate because here comes Hunter Ford coming through turn 9, getting ready to come on the iPone Oils back straight. Here's Yanni Shaw there, Keogh Watson.
Let's have a look at a replay as they come over bikehaggle.com.au down into Dunlop Sportsmax. You could see that Yanni Shaw got the better line there on Keogh Watson through the right-hander. On the left-hander, though, he ran a little bit too wide, momentarily losing the front end, using up all of the black stuff, just keeping it inside the yellow lines, and that, in turn, momentarily looked like it balked Keogh Watson as well.
But look at these two. Danny Thomas has got ahead of Ryan Sellen. It's a drag race to the line, but then this is battling for, 5th and 6th at the moment.
Sellen shaking his head left and right. I don't know whether that's wind buffeting because he can't get low enough underneath the visor or the screen at the front. Dan Thomas tries the outside line. No place for the faint-hearted, treading only where angels fear to dare. On the outside still, will he outbreak Sellen and get the better of him through bikebiz.com.au? Tries the switchback, can't do it. What a bold manoeuvre, a big effort showing that he's certainly got a big set of brakes. Well, taking another look at that bold manoeuvre from Ryan Sellen as they come through Races World, it momentarily forced young Dan Thomas a little bit wide. Thomas's determination, though, he was not going to give this chase up or this outbraking manoeuvre down into bikebiz.com.au without a real effort. Unfortunately, he went too wide and Ryan Sellen ended up getting the better run. On board now, though, back to live action with Max Croker as he contends his final lap here. He has almost an 8-second lead over the rest of the field, down Ipain Oil's back straight and into Matrice Dampers.
But here comes the leader, Max Croker, coming through Matrice Dampers now for the last time to actually... He hasn't been undefeated in round one, so this is going to be a perfect start to the year for him.
Down the main straight he comes, the Swann Insurance main straight to greet the checkered flag. This is his 4th victory in 5 races. Look at that, young Keogh Watson has got up ahead of Hunter Ford. He's going to get the KTM on the 2nd place. 3rd place Hunter Ford and 4th place Yanni Shaw can only sit back and shake his head.
Confirmation of the winners there. We have Max Croker, Keogh Watson, Hunter Ford, Yanni Shaw and his Kawasaki, Ryan Sellen, Dan Thomas, Shani Pinfold, a great ride by Shani there to finish 7th outright, Michael Jeffries, Andrew Edzer and Alexander Smith in 10th position.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely tough out at front. Trying to keep consistent laps the whole time, and the bike was feeling great, and thanks to my team and everyone that helped out, it was awesome.
Well, after such a dominant performance in race number 1, let's have a look at the highlights of race number 2, and it was condition normal as far as Max Croker was concerned on his KTM as he led the field down through turn 1 Races World for the first time. A good effort there for young Shani Penfold, who got up into about 5th place in the early stages, but it was all about this battle for most of the race. Hunter Ford on board his Ford Brothers Racing entry, and of course Keogh Watson on a bike that he was struggling with throughout the entire weekend. As we heard earlier, it's a standard machine with standard suspension and standard setup, and he's doing a more than standard job to be able to take that battle right down to the checkered flag. Ryan Sellen, in the meantime, he tried extremely hard also and had a battle throughout the entire 6-lap journey with Dan Thomas. Unfortunately for Shani Penfold, her efforts came undone with a 2nd crash of the weekend, and that certainly put paid to any podium position in race number 2. As I mentioned, this battle between Dan Thomas on the 152 and Yanni Shaw on the 333 thrilled the crowd throughout the entire 6 laps from green light to checkered flag. But the man that continued his domination and destruction of this class was the number 41 of Max Croker, the KTM Australian Nolan Bridgestone RC390. Accordingly, he takes the pole position, shares the front row with Hunter Ford and Keogh Watson for race 3. Shaw, Thomas and Young on the 2nd row. Row 3 is headed by Tom Taparis with Ryan Sellen and Julie Klinker sharing that one. Greg Burt, Richard Draper and James Seeley on the 6th row. Looking back from Hunter Ford, you can see that the determination is there on all riders as the revs builder. Look to the front row for your key protagonist. Who's got the best of the start? Keogh Watson bogged down momentarily there, but he's got the inside run at the moment. But I think you'll find Max Croker swoops across the nose of them both. Hunter Ford back there in 3rd.
Yeah, it looks like there Keogh Watson slotted into 2nd spot on his KTM. Hunter Ford relegated to 3rd. Is that Tom Taparis there on his KTM? And they're all grouping up. Oh, Hunter Ford up the inside of Keogh Watson. Keogh Watson's left that door open quite a bit this weekend, Lance, and allowing a lot of the riders to come through. But here comes Max Croker out front with that right on the tail of him is Hunter Ford and Keogh Watson.
In defence of Keogh Watson leaving the door open quite often, they basically have standard suspension. They've still got the original oil fork in the fronts and the original shock in the rear. And during the... Oh, Hunter Ford's gone high, wide and handsome there over the grass and onto the black ripple strip.
He's lucky that's the pit exit from the South Circuit there, Lance. So he's lucky he had a bit of asphalt there to get back onto the track. So he's been relegated now down to about 6th, 7th position.
Yeah, 3 behind where he was before, and that's an opportunity there for young Keogh Watson to be able to drive away and commandingly hold on to 2nd.
Yeah, it seems to be the KTMs have been the bike to have this weekend, Lance, with all the KTMs a little bit better than the Yamahas and Kawasaki's today.
Being a single cylinder, getting the drive out of the corners on a technical circuit like Sydney Motorsport Park, one wonders whether the twin cylinders will have the advantage when we go to Queensland Raceway later in the year.
Yeah, I think the KTMs will probably be even more dominant there. The point and squirt, you think the only real place that the twin cylinders have the advantage, they can rev more down the end of the Swann Insurance main straight.
Yeah, the top end straight straight factor of 4 really key straights up at Queensland Raceway may be the difference. It may even it out a little bit more, but that's still a couple of months away. Only a few laps away is the checkered flag for this bloke to give him a dominant performance over the weekend.
Yeah, so we have 3 KTMs, but here comes Hunter Ford having a big look up the inside. Is that Tom Taparis there? He's got some different fairings on his machine from the last race, so it is Tom Taparis.
Watson, Taparis, Ford and Yanni Shaw on the 333. They're battling it out, that quartet, for the 2nd and 3rd placings.
Yeah, it looks like Yanni Shaw up the inside there of Taparis. Taparis has lost a bit of ground. Hunter Ford right on the back wheel now of Keogh Watson. He's looking for that 2nd place back. He wants to get on top of the podium. Hunter Ford, another one of the riders, has been a bit up and down this weekend on his R3 Yamaha.
Well, he certainly has been up and down. Have a look at this one as he comes into Dunlop Sportsmax turn number 5. Just has to sit the machine upright, loses a number of positions. That was the downside. On the upside, at the other end of the circuit, coming through turn number 1, great drive out of Racers World, and managed to get a couple of places back. In turn, that opened up the door for Yanni Shaw on the 333 to also maximise the opportunity. 49.16 by Crocker, 48.4 by Ford, Watson a 150.5, and that's evidenced by the way they're situated on the circuit. Here comes Tom Taparis around the outside, Yanni Shaw up the inside of Keogh Watson, who's now been relegated back to 5th place.
Yeah, all these 3 riders battling out for 3rd, 4th and 5th in the 152nd bracket. The 2 in front are 2nd and 2nd and a half in front, so it is all a battle for number 3 step there, with Taparis just having a better of Yanni Shaw and Keogh Watson on his RC390.
This 3rd place battle down through Dunlop Sportsmax, turning right firstly, then turning left. The drive up over the top of the hill, very important to maintain corner speeds on these small bore machines.
And Yanni Shaw using more than the track there coming through, getting ready to come into Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill section of the track. Very wide, but hadn't slowed him down. He's right there still with the back wheel of Tom Taparis.
Keogh Watson struggling there. Look at our race leader, Max Crocker, almost out of the saddle, coming around the back of Corporate Hill and into turn 9. Look at this great slow-mo replay of the 4-way battle for 3rd place being headed by Yanni Shaw, and of course Keogh Watson involved in that, as well as Ryan Sellen and Tom Taparis.
But Hunter Ford, after a little mishap at the start of this race, running off the circuit, coming back with a vengeance. He's right there now. Can he pull out of the slipstream of that 41 KTM machine of Crocker? He's going to have a big look there, using all the slipstream he can, and he gets in front. Hunter Ford leads them through Racers World for the last time.
Can he hold the line? Because the inside line there, Max Crocker, he knew what he had to do there. Crocker did not panic and did a great job. But look at that. Hunter Ford tries to go round the outside, looking for the switchback through bikebiz.com, maintains the racing line, has the inside edge now as he goes up over the bikehaggle.com.au drop-off.
Here he's just got in lead, but look at Crocker. He's having a big look up through Dunlop Sportsmax. It's definitely going down to the wire, this one. Half a lap to go between Ford and Crocker. Nothing separating the front 2 riders at the moment.
Well, Hunter Ford has got at least 2 bike advantage there going up on the hill, the rise that leads up to Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill for the last time. Max Crocker, has his back been broken in terms of the challenge, or will he come back in the 3rd sector here at Sydney Motorsport Park?
Yeah, Hunter Ford just pulled off a 147 for their Lance to get in front of Crocker, but as they come out of Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days through Corporate Hill, through the turn 9 onto the iPone Oils back straight for the last time, the Hunter Ford's using some of the circuit and more some.
Absolutely trying very hard down the iPone Oils back straight into Matrice Dampers turns 10, 11 and 12. Hunter Ford it is that's leading at the moment, but will he across the strike line and grid the checkered flag ahead of the man that has dominated this class all weekend long? Max Crocker behind him. He's building up speed, building momentum. He's trying to draft him. He's following Hunter Ford. He's pulled out. Has he shown his hand too early? He's going to get it. Hunter Ford in 2nd place. Crocker timed his pass to absolute perfection.
Now, if you want to learn about slipstreaming, youngsters, the definite example.
Tom Taparis ends up breaking the back of Yanni Yanni Shaw and Keogh Watson to finish on the final run of the podium. Ryan Young, Dan Thomas, Ryan Sellan, Andrew Edzer and Robert Penman in P10.
It doesn't, definitely. We managed to make it a repeat from yesterday, and we had a great battle with Hunter to the line. I thought I may have been able to make a gap on him, but he had great pace and it was a great race.
Well, as you can see, after the opening 2 rounds of the Shock Treatments 400 Super Sport, it is Max Croker with an almost perfect score of 150 points that heads the field. Keogh Watson, Yanni Shaw, Hunter Ford, Ryan Sellan, and rounding up your top 6 is Dan Thomas. Next time the 400 Super Sport will resume their on-track battles will be at the Queensland Raceway in mid-July. But after the break, we'll bring you all the action of the Pro Twins, Naked Bikes and Super Twin 700s. Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park as we continue our coverage of the second round of the Swann Super Series. The next category hitting the tarmac is the Pro Twins, Naked Bikes and Super Twin 700s, brought to you by Racers World, who are the only Australian licensing and permitting motorsport body that does both 2 and 4 wheels and is the licensing body for the Swann Super Series. Well, we're getting set now for the first of 3 6-lap battles in the Pro Twins, Naked Bikes and Super Twin 700s. Let's have a look at the grid. Griffin, O'Connor and Breesy on row 1. Row 2, Pierpoint, Thompson and Watson. The third row is shared by Matijevic, Hend and Hopper. Row 4, Bolster, Godwin and Mark Wall in 12th position. Broderick, Draper and Davidov share row 5, and the 6th row, Corcoran, Thompson and Andy Stay.
And they're in the starters' hands now for race 1. The Racers World Pro Twins, Naked Bikes and Super Twin 700s.
Brought to us by Racers World. Looking forward to it. A fairly even start, but I think you'll find the best of them may well have been Adrian Pierpoint there on board machine number 4, but he gets bustled out of the road in turn number 1 for the first of 6 laps.
Yeah, it looked like a Ben O'Connor on the little 675 Triumph there in the Pro Twins class. Had a good start as well, but the bigger bikes coming through the field as they get the power to the ground. But it looks like at the moment, it looks like Aaron Breeze out in front on his RSV4 Aprilia.
Yeah, he's done a great job on the number 58, the Breeze Racing Controls entry, the RSV4 Aprilia. Everybody streaming through turn number 2, the bikebiz.com.au, left-hand hairpin through the right-hander that leads them up over the bikehaggle.com.au drop-off and down into a series of right and left-hand corners known as Dunlop Sportsmax.
Looks like it's Grant Barrett Thompson has taken the lead now from Heath Griffin with Ben O'Connor, so a few are chopping and changing already through this class of racing, Lance.
And coming up the inside, looks like Keith Griffin. He asserts his authority in no uncertain terms through the Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill turn number 6, and the run around the backside of Corporate Hill heading down into the slowest right-hander here at Sydney Motorsport Park on the Gardner race circuit that we're contesting this weekend.
Yes, an all-important corner, Lance, to see who gets the drive down the iPone oils back straight and then into the Matriz dampers turns 11 and 12 last part of the circuit. But Heath Griffin now finally gets in front down the end of iPone in front of Grant Barrett Thompson, and we have mentioned too that Heath Griffin 3 out of 3 wins and pole position, so he's on a perfect start to the year so far.
He certainly is, and he's looking forward to doing the same in the 3 races that they'll contest today, having been our basically being our pole sitter again on day number 2. So out of the Matrice dampers turns and down the run along the Swann Insurance main straight, 1,000 metres, 1 kilometre long, heading into one of the fastest corners on Australian road racing, the Racers World Turn 1.
Yes, it definitely separates the men from the boys Turn 1 Racers World, doesn't it? Because they're going at these machines, the Pro Twins, over 260 kilometres an hour coming into that turn, Lance. So that's very breathtaking.
Let's have a look at a replay of the start from on board the Aprilia Tuono of Adrian Pierpoint. You can see there that Heath Griffin fell back in the pack early in the stages, unlike Grant Barrett Thompson, who with a lightning start ended up with the whole shot, and that put the pressure well and truly on Heath Griffin. But by the end of the iPone oils back straight on lap number 1, he again asserted his authority and continued that domination through the Matrice dampers turns 11 and 12. Back to live action now, looking at this 4th place battle between Adrian Pierpoint and Aaron Breesy, heading out of Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days.
Very tricky part of the circuit, coming into the big left-hander down into turn 9, getting ready for the iPone oils back straight. We saw a few issues in this corner last year, but look at Adrian Pierpoint now up the inside of Aaron Breeze, but Breeze having nothing off it, but no, Pierpoint maintains his line for the drag race down the iPone Oils back straight.
Yes, Pierpoint very dominant through there, forced the issue very much so, and is now capitalising on that by opening up a few more bike lengths advantage, heading into Matrice Damper's turns.
I saw number 85 just behind Breezy there, Brendan Watson, who's one of the riders that's making a return after a long layoff. 5.5 years since he's actually ridden a motorcycle on a racetrack there for Brendan Watson, but sitting second in the Formula One naked bikes at the moment.
Yet again, Heath Griffin puts in another scintillating time, a 1:36.308 on his second flying lap.
So that is 1.3 seconds quicker than anybody else on the circuit land, so it's all his to lose at the moment, isn't it?
It certainly is, as he threads the needle out of bikebiz.com.au for the run over bikehaggle.com.au drop-off.
Yeah, getting ready to go into Sports Max turn 4. There looks like Ben O'Connor on that smaller 675 Triumph, still maintaining a good third place.
Let's have a look at a replay of the pass that Adrian Pierpoint managed to put on Aaron Breesy as they headed around the back of Corporate Hill. Breesy having to sit that bike upright a little bit earlier than he would have liked, and that opened up the door of opportunity for Adrian Pierpoint to progress up into 4th place. So on the final lap, our race leader heading around through the back of the Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill and into turn number 9. The slowest corner on the circuit, as far as right-handers are concerned. It opens up to the iPone Oils back straight and down into Matrice Dampers, the two left-handers, which is almost a triple apex corner.
It is a triple apex corner when you actually, it doesn't look it on the TV, but when you actually ride around the circuit, Lance, it's a very tricky corner, and it all depends on how fast you get to the end of the Swann Insurance Main Straight.
Which our race leader is negotiating now, heading down to greet the checkered flag. Our first winner of the second round of the Swann Super Series, race number 1 for the Racers World FX Pro Twins Naked Bikes and Super Twins, and Heath Griffin takes it out in a relative canter. Second place goes to Ben O'Connor, who overcome the challenges of Grant Barrett-Thompson. Adrian Pierpoint finished a creditable 4th placing with Adam Breesy, followed through then by Brendan Watson on the Yamaha, the first of the Japanese entered machines. Alex Matijevic in 7th place, Adam Hend, followed by Stephen Hopper, and Ian Godwin rounding up the front page in 10th place.
Good. The track feels a bit grippier this morning than what it did yesterday afternoon, but that might be new rubber on as well. I was pretty happy with my first 3 or 4 laps. I got a terrible start, and Grant hosed me off the start and led most of the first lap. But then I managed to put in a few good lap times when I got past him and pulled a bit of a gap.
Here's how they'll start in the next of the Racers World Pro Twins Naked Bikes and Super Twins 700 races. Griffin, O'Connor and Barrett-Thompson on row 1. Pierpoint, Breesy and Watson share the second row of the grid, whilst on row number 3 it's headed by Matajevic, Hend and Hopper, with Godwin, Wall and Bolster on the 4th row. Row 5 sees Ben DeBedef, Richard Draper and Kevin Corcoran, with our 6th row Broderick Thompson and Andy Stagg. On board with Grant Barrett-Thompson now on the exclusive glass entry as we take a look at the start. Underway, and a good start there from Heath Griffin. An equally good start from Adam Breesy as well. Griffin then faltered a little bit by the looks of it. Adrian Pierpoint's up there in the mix as well in 4th place as they go through Racers World for the first time.
Yeah, it looks like Grant Barrett-Thompson's already got a great start there, but once again, Heath Griffin, he's gone a bit wide, Heath, this time, which lets Barrett-Thompson up the inside. Can't quite do it. No, it looks like Heath Griffin trying to keep his perfect score for round 1 and round 2 in place there, Lance.
And look at who's looming up larger than life in the background. Adrian Pierpoint, the leading naked bike runner on his beloved Aprilia Tuono.
And right behind him is the second of the naked bike riders, Brendan Watson, making a return. So he's come to grips very, very quickly with the big FZ1 naked bike, and that is the ex-Lockie Thomas FZ1 racing bike.
Well, the Racers World FX Pro Twins Naked Bikes and Super Twins 700, they are the new inclusion. So there are 7 different races within the one race, Tim. The Formula 1, 2 and 3 in the Pro Twins, the Formula 1, 2 and 3 in the Naked Bikes, and the Super Twins 700.
We see that the leading one there at the moment is that little yellow SV. That is, who was it? That was, I can't remember his name, but Broderick, was it? No, but anyway, it is Heath Griffin out in front at the moment from Barrett Thompson there. Ben O'Connor on his 675. Adrian Pierpoint, Brendan Watson. Aaron Breeze is there as well.
Yeah, the man that you're thinking of, I think you'll find is Bolster on the number 22.
Yep, that is him. And number 22, the yellow SV650, and undefeated in this class yesterday.
Yeah, he is the leading Pro or Super Twin 700 rider, as you were mentioning.
This looks like Aaron Breeze just getting the better of Brendan Watson at the end of the Swann Insurance main straight. You can see, yes, so he's moved now into 5th on the road, relegated Brendan to 6th.
Looking again from Grant Barrett Thompson's exclusive glass entry, you could hear momentarily him bogging down, but he did get the best of the drive down into Races World for the first time, ending up with the whole shot initially and taking a good line, forcing Heath Griffin wider than he would have liked, but managed to outbreak him. You'll see him come around the outside now and assume the lead as he negotiates bikebiz.com.au. Initially wide, but gets the inside run into turn 3. In the meantime, let's turn our attention to the pointy end of the field, and Grant Barrett Thompson on board his exclusive glass BC Performance Aprilia RSV4.
What's that? Kelvin Riley's getting his hands in the Aprilias as well.
Well, it looks like it. It says BC Performance on his cheat sheet, so let's give him the kudos.
Yes, says Aaron Breeze. He's got the better of Adrian Pierpoint as well, but Adrian must have made a mistake because he's right there in the clutches of Brendan Watson on that big FZ1. I was talking to him last night saying the engine's really good, but he goes at the brakes. Not the best.
Not the best at all. Oh, well, there you go. So our race leader has already successfully negotiated bikebiz.com.au and is in the clutches of the bikehaggle.com.au drop-off, threading through Dunlop Sportsmax, the right and left-hander that leads up over the hill into Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill.
Yeah, it looks like O'Connor's dropped the draft there of Barrett Thompson as well, so Barrett Thompson's got a little bit of a gap now from Ben. The pressure's off just that little bit, but now the lead out in front from Heath Griffin to second place Barrett Thompson, both in the Formula 1 class, is up to 6 seconds. So it's a good ride there. Barrett Thompson now finishes his fastest lap has been a 39.3. Heath Griffin a 36.5. So that's 2.8 seconds quicker Heath has been to the riders behind him.
Let's have a look at a replay of some of the great action here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And in fact, if you'd like to experience the excitement of riding on Australia's best racetrack, then check out sydneymotorsportparkridedays.com.au so that you can also enjoy the thrills and spills of this great motorsport park.
And look, there's a turn up for the books there. Brendan Watson in...
Oh!
Sorry, we've lost...
Yeah, that was Matrovic.
Matrovic on his Ducati there, unfortunately. Lost the front end coming into turn 9. Would have given Steve Hopper a bit of a scare there, but he's okay.
He's A-OK and he's on it. Out of the Matrice Dampers final turn for the run down the Swann Insurance main straight to greet the checkered flag. It is the Russell Symes and Company Ducati Panigale mounted. Heath Griffin takes another victory in the Swann Super Series in the Races World of FX Pro Twins Naked Bikes and Super Twins 700. Coming down in second place, it is Grant Barrett Thompson on the exclusive glass Aprilia RSV4. Third placing will be taken out by Ben Connor on the Crosby Speed Triumph Daytona 675. Aaron Breese, Brendan Watson, followed through then by Adrian Pierpoint, Adam Hend, Stephen Hopper, Ian Godwin and Michael Jeffrey, your 10th and final finisher on the front page.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a clean sweep today, so we got one more to go. I got a bit better start in that race, so I was able to lead sort of out of turn 2 at least, which was nice. And made it a bit easier not having to follow Grant for most of the first lap and try and work out if I was going to get past him or not.
The question on everybody's lips was, in fact, would Heath Griffin repeat his performances as we show you the highlights of race number 3. Again, a poor start by him. Opened up the early hole shot for Grant Barrett Thompson. He headed out of Races World in front, but not for long before Heath Griffin assumed the race lead once again and continued his domination of this class. Adrian Pierpoint, in the meantime, was thrilling them with a great battle with Ben O'Connor, Brendan Watson and Aaron Breese involved in a great battle that would thrill them throughout the entire 6-lap journey, until Pierpoint made an uncharacteristic error down in bikebiz.com.au and then had to struggle hard through the right-hander that leads over the top of bikehaggle.com.au dropover. As you can see, many battles throughout this 6-lap journey that would go right down to the checkered flag, but there was no taking away this championship round. In fact, rounds 1 and 2 for Heath Griffin. As you can see, 151 perfect points, pole position and 6 wins. Ben O'Connor, Adrian Pierpoint, Grant Barrett-Thompson, and rounding up your top 5 is Brendan Watson. The race's World Pro Twins Naked Bikes and Super Twin 700s will again showcase at Queensland Raceway for rounds 3 and 4. But after the break, join us for the Freightlinks Transport Formula Oz coming your way. Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park for round 2 of the Swann Super Series. Coming your way right now is the Freightlinks Transport Formula Oz B, C and D grade races. Now, Richard Zajar and Carlos Rendon shared the honours in round 1. Will this trend continue in round 2? Let's find out with race 1 about to get underway. Here's the grid. Your pole sitter is Richard Zajar. Alongside of him is Dane Purcell and Brett Kitchen on row 1. David Birch, Harry Boyajian and Carlos Rendon share the second row of the grid, whilst on row 3 it's John Gabriel Lane, Andy Fisher and Michael Witchart. Row 4, Nick Marsh, Mark Wolford and Mark Nassif. Next row is Callum Barker, Will Stewart and Mark Badgery join them. John Howie, James Fruin and Marco Bortolucci rounds up your top 6 runners. On board with Harry Boyajian and the Kawasaki ZX-10R. So red flag off the circuit now, indicating looking for the starter. Will Richard Zajar continue on his winning way? He gets a fine start there, but on the inside it looked like it was the Ballina Motorcycles. Blake Signs, Dane Purcell that got the whole shot down the end of the Swan Insurance Main Straight and through Races World for the first time.
Yeah, you look like that's correct there, Lance, on the blue-livered Yamaha R1. But here comes Richard Zajar around the outside. There, big move there. Brett Kitchen's right up there at the start, so he'll be happy to be at the pointy end of the field. Oh, we've lost start. That's Marco Bortolucci on his Yamaha. Looks like 2 riders there taking evasive action. Fairly low-speed crash. I'm sure Marco will be able to pick up and maybe hopefully rejoin the race. But unfortunate start for him. But at the moment is Richard Zajar out in front.
Well, unfortunately, Tim, that has brought out the red flag for Marco Bortolucci needing medical assistance down there in bikebiz.com.au. Let's have a look at a bit of a replay as some of the riders clashed early on, and then to the left of the screen you can see Marco Bortolucci not only getting high-sided but also getting trapped underneath the edge of the bike. Unfortunately for him, medical attention required. We're now set for a complete race restart in race 1. In the starters' hands in the freightlinks.com.au Formula Oz B, C and D grade, and Zajar it is that got the better of the start, but over on the inside you'll find the stay upright Carlos Rendon on his Yamaha R1 was also a good start, and so too is Brett Kitchen. He's bitching early on.
Yeah, Brett had a great start there in the 3rd position, and Dane Purcell, watched him, he's gone back to about 6th or 7th there. A couple of riders. Kitchen's gone into 2nd spot now, so he's not mucking around early, but Dane Purcell, now he's moved up a few spots, so he's in about 6th spot at the moment from the back of the grid and not getting the start that he got in the first part of this race.
But it is the Canberra Motorcycles Honda CBR 1000 RR of Richard Zajar in his comeback race meeting after a hiatus of being absent from racing over 2016, and he's very encouraged by his performances so far this weekend.
Former champion in the class, he's shown lost none of that speed. That even though we haven't seen him for a year or 2, he's straight back on the pace there. A bit more challenging now with Carlos Rendon, who finished round 1 yesterday off on a great foot. But Brett Kitchen, we're always waiting for Brett to win one of these races, and he looks like he's up the pointy end, so it may be the day.
Well, it may be his day to shine above everybody else as the field streaks down through Ipone Oil's back straight into Matrice Dampers, turns 11 and 12. Oh, Zajar's gone very, very uncharacteristically wide there, and you could see the amount of room that he lost simply by having to thread the needle over the ripple strip and back onto the black stuff.
Yeah, a bit wobbly there. May needed some Matriz dampers there, Lance, but the bike was a bit wobbly. But here comes Kitchen. He's going very fast at the moment. Carlos Rendon's there as well. Is that Jane Gabriel Lane is up there. Michael Witcher, Wolford Fisher, Marsh.
And Boyagian, he's up in there in 4th place. So it's Zaja, Kitchen, Rendon, Boyagian, Lane, Purcell, Witchard, Wolford, Fisher, Marshall, Nassif, and rounding up the top dozen is Badgery. Looking at a replay of the start from Harry Boyagian's bike, you can see there that Dane Purcell got an absolute porridge of a start and almost got collected by him as he came through. In the meantime, though, Richard Zaja got the whole shot, and you can see there Brett Kitchen on the outside, rubbing shoulders with Carlos Rendon at the early stages, swapping leather brands as they went out of Races World and headed down towards bikebiz.com.au and tried to do the same again through the left-hander. Rendon, Boyagian and Lane being the key protagonists there, but right behind them is Purcell, Witchard and Wolford. And one's got to wonder what happened to Dane Purcell after the flying start that he got in the original staging of this Freightlinks Formula Oz B, C and D grade event. And now to be back as far as he is rather uncharacteristic. He's even under threat now from Michael Witchard on board machine number 85.
Yes, we had a terrible start. Dane Purcell couldn't keep the front wheel on the ground. That's he can't drive. But here comes Brett Kitchen up the inside. As they think about it, but Richard Zaja still maintains that position.
Brett Kitchen there sort of balked himself, didn't he? He didn't know, will I, won't I, should I, shouldn't I? And look at this 6-way battle for the minor placings heading down into bikebiz.com.au. Very much speed by Jean-Claude Lane there on board machine number 19. Takes up a couple of positions. This is the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th placing.
Yeah, it looked like Purcell got the better of Lane, but look at Lane now. He's up the inside. They're coming into Dunlop Sportsmax turn 4. Looked like he outbraked himself there, but maintained the position right on the tail now of Carlos Rendon. So he's moved from about 7th to 4th in about 3 corners.
The FTR Racing Yamaha R1 of Jean-Gabriel Lane now goes up one further and takes up a podium position, does he not?
Gee, he does. He's in 3rd position now and pulled a bit of a gap there on Carlos Rendon. A great line there through Sydney Motorsport Park ride days.
Let's have a look at this great effort again from Jean-Gabriel Lane as firstly he gets up the inside of Harry Boyagian on the first of the right-left combination of Dunlop Sportsmax, and then up in Sydney Motorsport Park ride days you could see the astonishment from Carlos Rendon as he snapped his neck across to the left there and almost gave himself some difficulties heading out of that turn. Back to live action now on the final lap with Richard Zaja opening up the door of opportunity there for Brett Kitchen as they exited Races World and down into this corner, bikebiz.com.au, as it's all about Honda versus BMW on the final lap. Well, Brett Kitchen did support the attitude that he may be able to get a win here this weekend. He wasn't that confident in the bike yesterday. He was going home to make some changes overnight and come back out firing on all cylinders. He's certainly doing that. Not only that, but Brett Kitchen is bitching at the front of the pack.
He's pulling away as we speak here, Lance. He's got a bike or 2 length on Richard Zaja.
Let's have another look from a different perspective on board with Richard Zaja here of that pass by Brett Kitchen heading out of Races World and for the run down into bikebiz.com.
Yes, and I think that BMW may just have the edge over Richard Zaja's Honda for speed. So if he maintains his composure there, Brett Kitchen, he'll take his first win of the year in round 2, race 1. So let's see what happens. Oh, Richard Zaja is closing right down. It's going to come down to the wire there, Lance, but no, Brett Kitchen just gets it.
He secures first blood ahead of Richard Zaja, Dane Purcell, Jean-Gabriel Lane, Andy Fisher, Michael Witchard, Harry Boyagian, Carlos Rendon, Mark Wolford and Nick Marsh rounding up our top 10 contenders.
The last time I won a race here was December, sure, but it was in the wet. So to win a dry race here and against someone like Richard, who's not slow, let's face it, and yeah, found some of that time that I was missing yesterday. So all together, why not celebrate?
As he likes to say, my name is Brett Kitchen and I'm bitchin', especially this weekend. And maximising the opportunity of a whole shot from pole position is exactly what he did in race 2 as we show you the highlights of it. Unlike the number 45 of Richard Zaja, who unfortunately succumbed to mechanical failure throughout this race, as we will see a little bit later. He dropped back through the field in the early stages, as you can see Brett Kitchen there simply running away with it. So back to what I was talking about in terms of Richard Zaja. You can see that he's pulling to the outside of the circuit here in bikebiz.com.au, and as we would find out after this race, he succumbed to mechanical dramas. In fact, gear selector problems would put him out for the rest of the weekend. In the meantime, though, Michael Witchart took up the challenge there very much on Carlos Rendon, again surprising him with a manoeuvre through Sydney Motorsport Park ride up Days Corner. Brett Kitchen, though, he led from green light to checkered flag for the second time, taking a victory ahead of Jean-Gabriel Lane and Carlos Rendon, and that's the way they'll start on row number 1 for race 3. Michael Witchart, John Howie and Mark Wolford share row 2. The third row is Andy Fisher, Nick Marsh and Mark Nassif. Row 4 sees Mark Badgery, Dane Purcell and Shane Ryan share the real estate. On row 5 it's Aaron Smith, Craig McNaughton and Will Stewart, with Daniel Crook, Lee Appleby and James Davies rounding up the 6th row. As we now get set for the final 6-lap encounter of the Freightlinks Formula Oz B, C and D grade race. Well, we're underway now, and Kitchen gets a good start, but equally as well as Carlos Rendon, and right behind them on the 85 is Michael Witchart, who swoops up into third placing.
Howie's got into 4th, so he's had a great start as well there. Howie on his number 37 machine, that sitting in 4th position, but at the moment it is Rendon, Kitchen, is that Witchart, and then Howie.
Rendon's gone wide, wide, almost cuts the nose off of Kitchen there on the stay upright Yamaha. He was almost down.
Yes, and a very close going through Bike Biz into the bikehaggle.com.au drop off there for the first timer. I think Brett Kitchen may be a little bit too keen to get out in front, as he has in the first couple of races there.
Well, Carlos Rendon was the one that sort of chopped across the top there. He went a little bit too wide and then cut back in front of Kitchen. I think it was all kudos to Kitchen for backing off.
Yes, but at the moment it is Rendon out in front, Kitchen there in 2nd spot, and as you mentioned there, number 19, John Gabriel Lane, who's had such a good day so far.
Michael Witchart's up in the fray there in 3rd place, on board machine number 85, the cutting edge paint shop Kawasaki ZX-10R.
Yes, as they get ready to go down through turn 9 onto the iPone oils back straight there. I did see Dane Purcell, who's started from the rear of the grid. He's moved further up, so he's had a good ride. Here comes Carlos Rendon coming around Matrice Dampers. Brett Kitchen has closed right up there. Witchart's pulled a little bit away from Howard, Wolford and Fisher at the moment.
Threading the needle through Matrice Dampers and down the Swann Insurance main straight. Carlos Rendon on board machine 36. The stay upright Yamaha R1 leads the field at the end of lap number 1 through Races World turn number 1.
Yeah, so it is Purcell. I did see him coming through the field. He's moved up into 6th position now, and best behind Wolford. Howie, Witchart still maintaining that podium position in 3rd. You can see Nassif coming through here on his Kawasaki. Someone going very wide there. But that was the rider number. That was the rider number 17 or 77. That was Badgery.
Well, it was a little bit of a different start. As we have a look at a replay here, you could see that Carlos Rendon launched himself well. Michael Witchart bucking around like a bucking bronco, and of course our race 1 and 2 victor in terms of Brett Kitchen trying very hard, and that's the way they went through Races World and headed down for the start of lap 1.
Yes, it's very unsettling for Carlos Rondon there, but at least Brett Kitchen might get something in his mind that Carlos's front tyre might be going a little bit on the south side there. So here he comes now down the iPone oils back straight. Can he get up the inside? He's definitely going to have a look down into Races World at the end of the Swann Insurance main straight next time around.
Yeah, the BMW seems to have the top end speed in a long distance like we're about to see down the Swann Insurance main straight, but just can't seem to get the power out of the corners that Carlos Rendon's Yamaha R1 has.
Different configuration engines. They're both 4-cylinder inline lands, but the cross-plane crank of the, there, as you said, there straight into the Brett Kitchen at the top end. So Brett Kitchen now into first place on the road, and he has just done a 38.5, a 38.7 for Rendon, but a 37.4 for Purcell to get the fastest lap of the race, sitting in fourth place.
Doing a good job as Dane Purcell, going too wide there.
Brett leaning on each other then. That Brett Kitchen gone very wide. Rendon saw the chance to get up the inside, but Brett Kitchen said, no, I'm maintaining that, and he's still holding on to it as they go over bikehaggle.com.au.
What an immense amount of respect and consideration given to both riders there. Neither wanted to back off, neither wanted the other one in front, but both of them still wanted to stay upright.
Yes, both of them. Was it discretion in front of Valour there, Lance?
Yeah, discretion in front of Valour. And I tell you what, Carlos Rendon is under pressure here. If he's not careful, he may relinquish second and third place.
Yes, you can see the tyre issue. He was having a couple of laps through that turn 3 into the bikehaggle.com.au drop-off area, and maybe he's feeling that front tyre is it's gone past its best end. But here comes Purcell. He has been the fastest. Look at that, the fastest sector time of the race so far.
My money's on the fact that once Purcell opens up the door on the inside or whatever of Carlos Rendon, that following suit will be Witchard, and unfortunately Rendon will be relegated back to fourth place.
After being winning at the start of the race.
Here comes Purcell.
He can't quite do it. Oh, he's looking for every which way but loose to get around Carlos Rendon. There is only, 2 corners left to go down the iPone Oils back straight into the Matrice Dampers turns 11 and 12, both on Yamaha. He's almost identical machines here.
He might be lucky enough to hold on to it. He may get third place, but I don't think he's going to get second.
Yeah, even Witchard could get the better of both these Yamahas here in the C-Stream. But here comes Brett Kitchen. Brett Kitchen, 3 out of 3. What a great day for the Formula Rise competitor. But here he comes. Is Carlos Rendon going to hold on? I think he has just held on there, Lance.
Dane Purcell making it 2 on the podium for the Yamaha mark. Michael Witchard, unfortunately, just falling short in 4th place with Mark Nassif in 5th. Andy Fisher, Mark Wolford, John Howie, Mark Badgery and Shane Ryan rounding up your top 10.
Carlos was nice and strong in the early part of the race, and managed to catch him and dust him off down the end of the straight there, which is good. And nearly overcooked it into turn 2, and he come back at me, but I was closing the door.
Let's have a look at the points after round 2, and it's Brett Kitchen on board his accountable IT BMW that leads the field ahead of Carlos Rendon in B grade. C grade is Mark Nassif and John Gabriel Lane with John Howie in a podium position. Will Stewart, Aaron Smith and Craig McNaughton, meanwhile, they're the D grade points. We hope you've enjoyed all the action from the opening 2 rounds of the Swann Super Series in 2017 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. The next time we go racing is in mid-July at Queensland Raceway for rounds 3 and 4. We look forward to your company then.